In November 2023, as Toronto's homeless shelters stretched to its limit, the TTC started to provide some new vehicles called warming buses as temporary shelters for the homeless population to stay overnight at near the Spadina and Union subway stations.
City of Toronto provides services to people in need, specifically people experiencing homelessness. And we have a shelter system of close to 10,000 people that we're sheltering on a daily basis. We also have additional spaces that we use through our FCJ and other community partners, which kind of equates to about 12,000 people that we're supporting on a daily basis. We have an unprecedented demand for shelter space. So what that means is that, people are trying to seek, there's more demand than we actually have spaces, right? And part of that is contributing factors, right? It's the cost of living, the mental health, the addictions, the refugee claimants, asylum seekers that are coming into this country that also need support. So it's multiple contributing factors for this demand.
And what we found was that people were sheltering overnight at Union and Spadina. Those were the two places because they're 24-hour stations. They're open all night. So people would set up inside the hallways at Union Station or at Spadina Station. But we need to go in there and we need to be able to clean out the station for the next day. And we don't want to just take people and ask them to go out into the cold streets. So we started this program in mid-November and it runs until the middle of this month, middle of April. Generally, what we find from past history is that people aren't sheltering overnight in the subways because when the weather warms up a little bit, they tend to move outside. We first of all, our priority is to try and redirect them into a shelter space. But if there's no shelter space available, that's why we have the bus there. But they're not buses that come from other service. They're dedicated for this purpose only. On the coldest nights, we've seen 7 buses, filled up, about, I think at one point we had as many as 60 people overnight across the 7 buses. So it's around, 10 people per bus that we see on a nightly basis. And like I said, some nights it could be 5 buses. If we have high demand, we'll bring a couple of extras. So we like to make sure that people have enough space to spread out a little bit, give them a bit of privacy as much as we can. We have a number of people that are on the bus. So we've got the TTC operator will be on the bus just to make sure that the bus is kept safe and no one drives away with it, which might happen if we left it unattended. So we don't leave it unattended. But they're there. They're when they're in the bus, they're behind a protective shield. Well, it's not a solution to anything. I mean, the solution to homelessness is more housing, frankly. Getting people off of these shelter buses, out of sheltering in subway stations, out of city parks. That's the way. We're not the experts in that. I don't pretend to be. But we all know what the answer is. The answer is more permanent housing for people.
We've been advocating to other levels of government and other institutions as well, right? That we can't resolve this by ourselves. We definitely need housing, affordable housing. May have not mentioned this, but we can add a couple of thousand more spaces in the next couple of weeks or days. However, those will get filled up. So in addition to adding spaces, we need to make sure there's an exit, right? People are exiting the shelter system. And in order to do that, we do need support and assistance from other levels of government and institutions.
I find it one of the most alarming things I've seen in my career. Buses can never, ever, ever be considered a shelter. TTC also is not being transparent, but it also means that the city's shelter standards, which are based on people's basic human needs, to go to the washroom, to be able to lie down to sleep, to be able to have food, to have safety, a blanket, a pillow. These standards are not being met on the buses. You might be in a very confined space, sleeping with mixed gender. That may not be comfortable for you if you're a senior or if you're a woman or trans. There are so many issues, and it's just gone silent. And there's literally no champion on city council on this issue. So I'm equally concerned about the numbers because it's keeping a problem hidden, but I'm also concerned about the human rights aspect around the standards